right, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I know there's a lot of great conversation taking place back there, but we're going to get the program started. So I would first like to welcome everyone to the Women's Trailblazing reception, Women's Trailblazers reception. It's great to be here tonight. Great to be here tonight among so many women trailblazers, of which I am clearly not one. But it's great to be here anyway. And I'd also like to welcome everyone to the SDG Action Zone. The SDG Action Zone, it was an effort by the United Nations and my office, the United Nations Office for Partnerships, to put together a space where we could do things just like this. Bring government leaders, business leaders, civil society leaders, academia, philanthropy, all together to share thoughts, ideas, and see and hear amazing programming from leaders in the space that are going to help us achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Are we going to be able to do it? Can we do the goals by 2030? Yes, yes, we can. But we need a great deal more action, and we need to drive it, and we need all the people in this room and all the people that have been so active here at the UN and around the city to help us drive that action. And I guess I should introduce myself because you're going to see me again. As I said, I'm from the United Nations Office for Partnerships, and I'm the executive director of that office, and my name is Robert Skinner. And at this point, I'd like to get the program started. And it's been my good fortune this week to introduce amazing women from Colombia. I had the opportunity yesterday to introduce the First Lady of Colombia at an event, and tonight it is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Maria Fernandez Suarez Londoño, the Minister of Mines and Energy of the Republic of Colombia. Please welcome us, please join us on stage.
Hello, well, a pleasure being with all of you tonight. Really, I was saying that this is like my favorite moment of the week, working on this initiative. And I wanted to be here with you, so I will be just start by sharing a little bit of my personal experience in gender equality, that I do think that it's a starting point and the reason why it is so excited to be here. So I always believed when I started my career and when I was in the university that all these that had to do with target and quotas, it was really something that it was, I didn't believe in that. I thought it was a way for people to diminish really the importance of women, and that we should do it on our own. When I started to work and actually everything was fine until I had kids. So I have two kids, 14 and 12, and it has been a huge challenge to being a businesswoman, going to executive levels, being a minister right now, and having almost two teenagers and being able to have a husband still. So really part of my message to women and to men, it's that my personal experience is that we can do a lot of things at the corporate level, in institutions, but it will never be enough if we're not more equal in caregiving. If we want to be breadwinners and have the same time of competitiveness, we definitely need to go forward in being equal in caregiving. And my message to women and men is that what I found from my personal experience is that the person that was less equal in caregiving was myself. When my first child was born, my daughter was born, I all the time, and I realized it after, I all the time thought that I was better at caregiving than my husband was. So I stopped him from doing a lot of things. When I had the second child and I was ascended as Chief Investment Officer of the largest pension fund in Colombia, and I really needed help because I thought it was help, not sharing caregiving, I realized how bad I was at being equal in the caregiving. So one of my thoughts that I wanted to leave with you is that I do think that many times, because we women have a lot of biases, we also stop that equal caregiving to happen, and that made our lives to succeed in the professional life much more harder. And part of this is because on this gender equality, I do believe that a lot has to be, we have to think a lot about what can we do. Every person has to have an action, because many times when I hear around global warming and climate change, when I hear about gender equality, a lot of the discussion is what others have to do, what companies have to do, what academy has to do, what men have to do. So my invitation for this call to action is every individual has to have a plan on gender equality, on SDG, and what to do on this year and on the next month, because we always target to 2030. It looks like it is a long time, but we really need to have shorter targets. So my invitation is that you all take a piece of paper or your cell phones out and put your target, your personal target of what you're going to do this year and this month toward on your personal life to advance on gender equality, on your education on kids, on your career, on how when you are a boss. And biases, it's something that it's there all the time. And now regarding the initiative and the importance of target, I will say that definitely targets are absolutely key. My other experience is when I was chief financial officer for the oil and gas company in Colombia. I was in this gender equality, and I went to Georgetown and studied a lot regarding leadership and gender equality. And I was running a process because I was restructuring my area, and I need eight vice presidents to be, because I was to be on my area. And I started a process for hiring and for selecting, and I never told the headhunter that I needed to have equal participation in the process. The result was that all the candidates, and it was like 50 candidates because it was 8 positions that I were filling, they were all men. So I did set up those 8 positions with only 1 woman. So that's when I realized also, and a different moment, sorry that I put the timer because I can talk for gender forever. But I realized in those little examples, really, if you do not set targets on education, if you do not set targets on selection process, we will never have a 50-50. Same for corporate boards. It's always very hard. And part of the things that I have that happens is that we found it so hard to feel 50-50 because many times our women's the one that say no because we feel that it's not the right moment or we're not ready for the job. So my invitation is, if we want to fill that target, we really need, there is never a perfect moment, and we women have to be whenever, if you're pregnant, if your kid is small, or if it's a teenager, step up for the job. Lastly, and just a few minutes, Colombia wants to be, it's leading in this issue. This is, yeah, I'm leaving. In this issue, this is the first parity cabinet that we have in Colombia, and that is really, and that is really something that is setting an example for corporate boards to have the same type of parity. And I was like in the perfect moment of my life and job, and I decided to join the cabinet. And one of the reasons, because it was a 50-50, and if we women don't take the role on those decisive moments, it will be very hard to achieve those targets. Best of luck this night, best of luck with the initiative. I think that all efforts that we do are small, and really, really, we need to go at a faster pace. We are not doing enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. I think that gets us off to a great start, and you can talk about gender equality, but I also think we could listen to you all night as well. That was a great way to get us moving. Right now, I'd like to bring to the stage and welcome to the stage a very, very special guest, Jamila Jamil, who many of you will know from her hit show, The Good Place. Jamila is also the founder of the activist platform I Weigh, which is exploring social issues like the representation of gender in media. Jamila, please join us on stage.
Hi, sorry, can we get the people at the back to stop talking? Would that be all right? Could you just be quiet? Because this is a night in which we're honouring incredible women, and I think, frankly, women have been spoken over for long enough. So could we just shush the people at the back? It's incredibly rude. There was an amazing woman saying really important things, and you spoke all the way over it. Now, obviously, I've now put myself under the microscope, and I might disappoint. But I had to say something, because that was really hard to watch. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I feel very unworthy of all of you. You're all incredible people, and I'm so inspired by everything that you're doing. I left my speech. Everyone at the back, you're going to have to be quiet. Okay. I left my speech at home, so I have written it on my phone, and I tried to hide that from you behind this piece of paper. I'm going to end that pretense right now. So, it is of my opinion. Now, this is just an opinion. I'm not stating this as fact, so all of you with your phones out can relax. But I feel strongly that for the longest time, historically, the majority of men, hashtag not all men, have been afraid of women. They have been afraid of our power, our intellect, our capacity to learn and adapt, our pain tolerance, the fact that we can grow people, even men, inside our bodies, and then we can feed them with our bodies. Fairly impressive. They are also afraid of our unrivaled ability to find anything that is lost. Whatever that thing may be, we will find it absolutely anywhere. I personally have, I shouldn't say this new one, but I've never understood why they sent many men to go and find Osama bin Laden, because if they'd just sent my mother, she would have found him in one day and she would have cleaned up the cave. But, Osama bin Laden aside, I think that they fear that they have little purpose for us, which is a shame because it's not true. And I think that they fear that beyond their seed, they are redundant. Again, not true. And they don't even have to go out and forage for us anymore. We have Postmates and other delivery services. But I believe that this is why they have oppressed us for so long, so that we are unable to recognize our own power. But thanks to technology, thanks to social media, thanks to basic human rights in only certain countries, and because of all of the efforts of people like all of you who are in this room, this is now changing. But there is a long road ahead to equality, but it is coming. It disturbs me that in an epic moment of reckoning with Me Too and Time's Up, most disappointingly, the takeaway from these radical movements from a lot of men in power is that they say they are now afraid to hire women because they are worried they will be falsely Me Too'd. So clearly, we need more women at the top. Yes? I see their fear. I personally see their fear as a direct invitation for us to step up and start our own companies and our own businesses and be at the top of the food chain once and for all, so that we can hire young women, other young women, into safe and supportive environments. That's why I wanted to be here today. I wanted to be amongst so many amazing people. I support female leadership. I myself am venturing into, I've started up my own company. I am now the owner of a business. I am my own VC. And I'm leveraging my extreme privilege to hire brilliant young women to form an army around me. Some of them are sitting over there. And I'm thankful to say, I am never kept awake with the fear that someone is going to Me Too me. So, I highly recommend female leadership to anyone out there, and I know that I would be so lucky and so honored to be able to work alongside any of the women being honored here tonight. You are incredible, and I am amazed by the work that you are doing. And I'm delighted to be here to support this night that celebrates a changing landscape in business, and more importantly, in our entire society. Anyway, thank you for having me. Thank you for what you are all doing. May these events soon not need to exist, because we have carved out a deserved equal space for women once and for all. Sorry for telling everyone off at the back, but I used to be a teacher. It's just in my bones. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. And Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamila, for being so powerful in getting us, again, moving forward with such an amazing remarks to keep it started. And I would say that you are the first person that has actually been able to quiet the back of this room all week. You're the first one. Many have tried, I can assure you. And that did it. You can see that you were a teacher. That's amazing. But I would now like to invite to the stage Lise Kingo and Ann Cairns. Lise is the CEO and Executive Director of the UN's Global Compact, which of course is our host tonight, put together this amazing room. So Lise, please join us. And I'd also like to welcome Ann. Ann is here. And Ann is the Executive Vice Chairman of MasterCard, where she represents MasterCard around the world, focusing on inclusion, diversity, and innovation. She is also the Global Co-Chair of the 30% Club and Chair of the Financial Alliance for Women. Come on, we can do better than that. You're two amazing women. Come on. Pick it up. Back in the room. All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elisa, I'm going to start with you. I just first want to say thank you for including the Officer Partnerships and allowing me to be a part of the event tonight. It's a spectacular evening. You've obviously put together quite a following at the UN Global Compact, so it's just great to be here with you. And just to get us just started, tell us why it's so important that we're all here tonight. Why bring us all together? We're trying to accelerate business leadership. Why do we need to keep doing it here we are in 2019 and we're still talking about it?
Rob, thank you for that opportunity and welcome to everyone. I mean, it's amazing to have this crowd in this amazing tent. 5 days into the UNGA week and we are still alive, so right. That's great.
Still standing. Sitting for the moment, but still standing.
But I mean, one of the main things we have done during this UN General Assembly week is to take stock of where we are in the global goals. And clearly, there's good progress in many areas, but we are overall not faring very well. The two major gaps where we are not meeting the targets at all is on climate change and inequalities. And when it comes to inequalities, particularly gender equality, equal rights for young people, equal rights for workers in the supply chain are very seriously behind goal. So if we are to make the global goals by 2030, we really need to hammer down and make sure that we have action in these areas. And for us at the UN Global Compact, we have chosen two areas that we really want to focus on to make the global goals a reality by 2030. One of them is climate. That's not the topic for this evening. The other topic is clearly gender equality. Without women, the global goals will not become a reality. At the moment, there is a 200-year gap until the moment where we could have gender equality. I think it's almost a joke. And at the Compact, we have decided that we want to do something serious about this right now at this moment. So this evening, we are launching our new initiative. We call it Target Gender Equality. It's very simple. It's very simple. It simply means that we are going to ask all our close to 10,000 companies across the world that are participating in the Global Compact to set targets on women engagement in the business. So the starting point is, of course, the women empowerment principles that we developed together with UN Women some years ago. That's the clear topics that we want to cover. But we would like all companies to set clear targets for how they want to improve women participation at a board level, women participation in executive management. It's something 85% of our companies are very aware about, have to be done, but we are not seeing the progress that should happen. So we think this is the moment to become much more concrete and really ensure that targets on women's participation is nailed down as part of the balanced scorecards and the corporate strategies in each company. And Rob, I think if there are anybody in the room that would not agree that, of course, we want to mobilize half of the world's population, all the women, in how we drive companies, if that's not a good enough reason for anybody in the room, I just want to mention that according to Morgan Stanley, companies that have women in top management have a financial bottom line that is 3 percentage points higher than other companies. So I think there are good arguments that everybody should be able to understand why we need to do this. And Rob, if I may, I just want to end with a little story because I used to study ancient Greek mythology. And one of my favorite stories is the myth about Sisyphus, who endlessly tried to push a rock up the mountain. And every time when he almost gets it up there, it comes tumbling back again. And that's how I feel the whole gender debate has been progressing for so many years, that every time we think, now we have progress, now it's happening, now we are reaching the tipping point, things move backward again. So at the Compact, we have decided that now we want to team up with all our good companies across the world, and we want to set targets and make this happen so we can see a tipping point.
Yeah. Thank you, Lise. If anybody can get that rock to the top and keep it there, I'm confident that you can do it. And at MasterCard, you're focused on gender equity, making sure that there's equality, through the organization, top and bottom. Can you tell us just a little bit about how you're doing that? How are you driving change to move the dial on this issue?
Thanks very much, Rob, and I agree with everything that Lisa's just said, and I like to think of it a bit more as Pandora, let's just get out of the box now. So at MasterCard, I think you put it very well. Why would you as a company just look for talent in half the human race? Quite frankly, you would be missing out on a tremendous amount of the world's talent. And we actually have a hiring policy that means that entry level in the company, we hire 50-50 men, women. And across the company as a whole, we're just shy of 40% women. And of course, what happens as you get a bit nearer the top, if you look at executive vice president and above, which is the top echelons of the company, we're 30% women, which actually, in the tech world, which we are part of, that's not too bad. But I would say in the tech world, let's not be very proud of the stats that are actually in that world. So we've done a number of things that try to move the needle inside the company. We put in global maternity and paternity leave around the world. And there's 4 months maternity leave, 2 months paternity leave. And I think, except, for example, if you're in Scandinavia or somewhere that, gets much more than that. But the point being that actually the great thing in our company is that the men take their leave. And I think that actually starts to level the playing field, because it's showing that it's culturally acceptable and encouraged for parents to be parenting children, not just mothers to be parenting children. And also, if you think about it from a hiring manager point of view, then you're looking at men and women in a pretty similar way because they're probably both going to be parents in the future. So that's a really good thing. The other thing that we're looking at is returners to work programs around the world. So many people leave the workforce. Many of them are women, not always women, but they leave and they don't come back in because it's hard to re-enter. And so we've rolled out programs all over the world to allow people to come back to work, both men and women. And we actually buddy them up, we retrain them on all the latest technology, and we help them find a role. And sometimes they find a role in another company, and providing it's a great role and so on, we encourage that because we're interested in people having successful careers in our company and beyond. The last thing that I'll mention is when I was running international markets, that was everything outside America, I was responsible for over 200 countries in the world. And for the first 2 years, I traveled around the world and I looked at the roles that everyone was doing and I thought, P&L roles for women are really important. Get women running businesses as soon as possible. And one of the biggest and the best P&L roles in our company was actually to run a country. And that is, you're a mini CEO of the business. There were so few women. There was a handful of women running countries for us. So for 2 years, I went around the world and said, let's have women running countries. And everybody nodded. And nothing happened. I mean, I was such a successful executive. So then I called my personnel head and I said, Carolyn, what are we going to do? And she said, you know what, Anne, let's do this. Let's say, I'm not going to interfere with the hiring process, but I want all my hiring managers to tell me that they've got balanced slates for country heads, to tell me the criteria that you're using to hire a country head, and to also tell me why you chose the person that you chose to do that job. When I instigated that, within the first year, we had 10% more women. And now, around the world, we have so many women country heads, and it's not necessarily easy countries. We've got Venezuela, we've got Ukraine, but we also have France, we also have Spain, we have Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Colombia, Mexico. So the answer is it just requires a bit of attention and really measuring what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Measurement, it's amazing the work you've done globally. Now, I'd like to ask you both this question, and you can decide who wants to take this one first, but it's about women entrepreneurs. I know we're going to hear from some amazing women entrepreneurs shortly in this evening's program, but what can the private sector do, some of the larger companies, to support the success of women-led businesses, startups, these amazing entrepreneurs we'll hear from later, that have the potential to help us advance the 2030 agenda, to really help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals?
Well, may I just pick up on what Anne said? I think it's a really interesting thing to look at how many women across the world actually have the P&L jobs, because that's clearly the ones that pushes you up the hierarchy. And I think at the moment it's 16%. So they're at a global level. So there's a lot of potential. I think it's also interesting, back to your question, Rob, on female entrepreneurs and how much of global capital actually goes into supporting female entrepreneurs. And ladies and gentlemen, it's 1%. So there's a lot of opportunity to expand in this area. And I want to share with you as well that in the Women Empowerment Principles self-evaluation tool that we launched a couple of years ago, one of the questions to companies relates to do you know how many in your supply chain are women-led companies? And that question came as a big surprise to many companies who said, oh my God, I never thought about that before. So I think this whole issue about female entrepreneurs and how larger companies can support actually selecting entrepreneurs led by women also has a huge potential. So I want to mention an example from Mary Kay, who have announced their Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator, which I think is one of the great initiatives that can actually put this forward. And then I think, as Anne was just mentioning, I mean, the role that women can play in helping other women forward is crucial. And I don't know why this is not happening more. And I feel in the area we are discussing this evening, there are probably more low-hanging fruits that in many other, how should I say, business opportunity areas. So I just think that women have to become more clever in how we promote and really support each other in making in having more emphasis on women in business.
I think entrepreneurs are very important to our business. Let's face it, MasterCard has over 2 billion customers on the planet. And by the way, 80% of the buying decisions are made by women. So women are pretty important to the business. And women who own their own businesses are hugely important to our business. So we've actually been developing products designed for women. I don't know how many people here have actually read that book, Invisible Women, about how many things weren't designed for women, like crash dummies, like drugs, like microphones, by the way. So what we're doing is we are working with different partners around the world to build solutions, and we're building them in the supply chains with people like Unilever. So if I take small shops, for example, in Africa, what we're doing with Unilever is those people who own those shops, the women can't get credit. Why can't they get credit? Because they don't own any property. And in half the countries on the planet, women have no access, or it's culturally unacceptable for them to inherit land. And I don't know how many of you love Pride and Prejudice like me, but who wants to grow up to be a latter-day Elizabeth Bennet, trying to marry some guy with a big house called Pemberley? No way, right? So these women need to get money from banks, and the way they can get money from banks is we've digitized the supply chain from Unilever selling goods into their stores to the people walking into those stores and buying those goods and producing the empirical data to banks to say, hey, this is a good business. We rolled that out across 16,000 little shops in Kenya. And by the way, the uplift in sales in the first few months was 20%. And we said, this will work everywhere in the world. Now that's one end of the spectrum. At the other end is the capital. And we've been working with Astia. We've given 10 million to Astia that invests in female founders. I'm working with Astia to actually try and get that fund up to 100 million. But we need much more capital. And as the chair of Financial Alliance for Women, one of my board members, Shelley Porteous, has just gone and created a fund of $1 billion for women, which is getting the fund managers to commit to funding women. And the last thing I'll say is that we are in the technology business. We work with thousands of startups around the world. We've looked at 16,000 startups in the last few years, and we actually help incubate some of these startups. About 40% of them right now have women founders or women senior executives, and it's a woman inside MasterCard that runs that program.
Yeah. Lizzie and Anne, you are both been true trailblazers in your careers. Lizzie, you were previously an executive at a major multinational pharmaceutical company, and now run Global Compact, which is the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. A big hand for Global Compact for that. And I'm gonna read the next thing because I want everyone to know that I'm reading and I'm not making it up. And you were also named one of the 25 badass women shaking up the corporate climate movement by Green Biz. And Anne, you found your way to success in more than one male-dominated sector. You were previously an engineer, an award-winning engineer in the oil and gas sector, and now one of the more prominent female leaders in finance. Could each of you just share a personal story about how you've broken down those barriers, how you've driven through and had such great success in your careers?
Well, one of the things that I want to share is that I was in a completely male-dominated world for a long time. I moved from engineering to investment banking, even more interesting than engineering, and I always had male bosses. And when I was 37, having been married 17 years, I was suddenly pregnant, and I went away on maternity leave. And when I was on maternity leave, my boss at Citibank rang me up week 11 and said, "When are you coming back?" And I said, "Well, I thought I'd come back, I don't know, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm not sure." And he said, "Well, come back soon, will you? Because I'm promoting you." Yeah. And I've got to say that there are some great guys out there who can really change your life by doing something like that gives you so much confidence in your career.
Lise?
Well, I want to tell a little bit of a different story. So I thought I'll share with you this evening that, in all my years where I felt I had a pretty important job in the pharmaceutical industry before and now at the Global Compact, I find that my friends and family have a problem with actually understanding what I'm doing. So I feel I keep on repeating what I'm doing, but it's as if they don't understand. And I have been thinking, is this also the issue when guys say, "Oh, I'm the CEO of something"? I mean, does anybody ever sort of forget and don't understand what they are doing? So I feel there's some kind of ignorance that in some way or the other is related to the fact that I'm a woman. So I'm so hopeful around this project and what we will be doing this evening, not least because I hope it will make people understand better what I'm doing here in New York at the Compact. So what do you think? If I tell them on Monday, I launched together with good friends, with MasterCard, with SAP, with Bank of America, with Mary Kay, a new Trailblazing initiative. We call it Target Gender Equality. In 2020, we want 20 local networks of the Global Compact to drive this target-setting initiative towards the world. Do you think that people will understand then what I'm doing? I hope so.
Well, I understand what you do and have the great pleasure to work with you, and so...
Thank you, Rob. You're such a good friend. You can be a woman trailblazer, by the way.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I can only try and live up to the standards that the two of you have set, for sure. But I would like to hear some reactions from a couple of other business leaders. So I'd like to invite Dr. David Cook, the Chairman and Managing Director of Konica Minolta Business Solutions in Australia, and Mrs. Shinta Kamdani, the CEO of Sintesa Group Indonesia, to join us on the stage. And while they join us, for the audience's information, Australia and Indonesia are two countries where the UN Global Compact will be launching Target Gender Equality. So it's very important that we hear from reps from those two countries. So David and Shida, we're just eager to hear your thoughts, on the pathways to progress and how you two see this struggle for gender equality.
I will go men first. How about that?
Okay. So we're only up here for a very small amount of time. So I just wanted to share a couple of things with you, if I may. The first one is that last week in Australia, I'm the Managing Director of Konica Minolta. I'm also the Chairman of Global Compact Network Australia. We launched a new parental leave policy. Now, it's not a target, which is what we're discussing tonight, but it's absolutely a pathway that facilitates women moving back into senior executive roles after giving birth. And so every country's got different legislation on on maternity leave or the various phrases that are used. But in Australia, basically, it's called primary carers leave and secondary carers leave. And the primary carer gets 12 weeks paid leave, and the secondary carer gets 2 weeks paid leave. And when I looked at that policy, it kind of didn't make any sense to me. And I just thought, let's get rid of those terms. Let's just call these people parents, and let's just treat them equally. So now, as of last week, we give everybody 12 weeks paid leave because we think every child deserves 2 parents. And we're also getting out of people's way, and we're not being prescriptive, and we're saying, you decide as a family how you take it, when you take it, and every family will choose something different that meets their needs. The last thing I'd just like to mention to you, though, is that we had to decide on a date to launch it, of course, and from that date forward, the policy would apply. So I have an annoying habit of asking questions in meetings like, but what happens if your child was born the day before? And of course the answer came back, oh, well, you miss out. You can't draw down on the policy because the policy didn't exist. It was the day before. And that didn't make sense to me either. So we've created a policy now that is retrospective for 3 years. So if you had a child at any point in our company in the last 3 years, you can draw down on this policy on a pro rata basis. And we just hope that that's our way of showing caring and kindness and fairness to the people that work in our company. And I honestly believe if those qualities could be brought to more business decisions that are made in the world today, then the corporate sector would be a far better place.
So, a little bit background of myself. I'm the CEO of a family business in Indonesia called the Sintesa Group. We are, actually this year we are celebrating our 100 years, so I'm the 3rd generation. We are part of the Global Compact in Indonesia, and I always say that SDG number 5, which is something that I'm passionate about. And I feel in Indonesia, actually, our issues is really because we have a culture in which very much male-dominated, right? So when we started in the workplace, there've been a lot of talk about, why. I think we all know why, and we know, what to do, but how can we actually make it happen? So I really feel when we talk about, first, the gender equality in the workplace, a lot of the companies in Indonesia have issues in how to actually do it. They said, I'm promoting, I'm not discriminating a woman in the workplace. Of course, it's an unconscious bias. A lot of the CEOs feels like that. So this is why I then started a coalition on women empowerment, really bringing in companies. Because when we look at women, when they enter the workforce, it's actually not the issue of entering the workforce, but they don't really go up in the career ladder. So only when they start, 49% is actually entering the workforce, but 20% in the middle management, only 5% in the board. So I feel this is an important issue that we need to address. And I thought, how can we do this? So one way is to really understand, if you want to promote gender equality, you need to certify companies. So now we have an edge which called the economic dividend on gender equality, in which companies are being assessed and say, okay, if you say you are promoting, what do you actually do? So we talk about equal pay, we talk about recruitment, we talk about facilities, daycare, about maternity care, about maternity leave, paternity leave. But I think what's important in this is that at the end, we can see that a lot of these companies are actually wanting to do it, but they need to be shared best practices in how to actually do it and put in their company regulations, and that to actually make it happen. So that's one aspect that I think is very important, and now we are addressing it through the certification program. Now the second part is also the women entrepreneurs development. I think when Anne talked about access to women entrepreneurs, this is our problem. So when we talk about women entrepreneurs, a lot of them can't even have those access to finance. A lot of them have their own business, but the husband claim that this is their business. So they're actually the one doing the work, but the husband is actually claiming it. So they go to the bank, the husband, is the one who has to sign the loan. They can't even get a loan. So a lot of our women entrepreneurs in Indonesia are like that. So that's how then I started the first women fund in Indonesia, which I gather from the women entrepreneurs to invest in the women startups. This way, we can really bring them up, and a lot of now the women have the opportunity to develop their own businesses. Now, with that, we also have the mentoring program, because mentoring is a big part of it. So incubation is there, of course, but mentoring, I believe, is a very big part of developing women entrepreneurs. So I think with these two aspects, I believe Indonesia can move forward in bringing gender equality, in bringing how women can have the same opportunity as male. And what's interesting is how we can also educate our male. We have a program for the male CEO champions, because I said we need the male to be out there and help and support us. So I think these are some of the work that we do, and we are continuing. We need to obviously scale this up. We are, Unilever, all the multinationals gets it, but a lot of the local companies are still very much far behind. So that's the work I do. Thank you.
I hope all you men out there were listening well. Lisa and Anne, any final quick words before we pass the torch to the next group?
I just want to agree with Lisa. Well, Lisa said earlier, 200 years, far too long. Let's open the box. Let's really accelerate what we're doing. I believe it makes total business sense to actually do this, and any business that isn't thinking about going for gender parity is a business that's going to be out of business in the future.
I just want to say, let's get that rock over the tip now. It's too embarrassing if the coming generation have to deal with this as well. I mean, we have to do this now. We can do it if we really want to. And now we make, yet again, a big push with all the great local networks of the Global Compact. So join us. Thank you to We Empower, to UNOP, to We Mean Business, to all the companies. I mean, this is something that just can't fail. Come on, we have to do it.
Absolutely. David, Shinta, and Lise, thank you very much. It's been fantastic. Let's give them all another big round of applause. Well deserved. I'm now going to pass the moderating duties to Anne Rosenberg, who leads SAP's Next Gen program. And the one thing I can say about Anne, other than the fact that she's a very good friend, is that she is a true leader on the Sustainable Development Goals. If anybody's had a chance to be over to see what SAP is doing this week around the Global Goals with Global Goals Week and all the things that they've taken on, that is all very much to Anne's credit for getting this done. So thank you so much for being with us this evening, Anne. And, you were all day doing this, I know, over at your place, and it's great to have you over here at the SDG Action Zone. Thank you.
So we are actually really good friends. We do a lot of stuff over at SAP, actually, over just on the other side at Hudson Yard. This is not just a pleasure to be here. I am super humble, powerful of women in the room here. And before I get this amazing women who's going to share the stage with me up here, I think there's something very special happening, and I think we've seen the whole week. I think there's a tipping point for the power of women. And as Lisa said, we simply need to change this now, but I think it will change. Because the thing about purpose is that it's something that comes very natural to women. I think we all know this feeling that often men think that women are too emotional. We show our feelings. This is a weak point. But it's not. This is what makes us human. And this is what is so important when you're a really purpose-driven leader. And this is what we are as women. Another thing that is strong about being a woman is that you are very much about uniting. You unite people. You don't just do your own winning. You know to win and drive things forward, you unite and you bring the team with you. And that is exactly what women are really good at doing. And that's why it's been so incredible to observe. I know the week is not over yet, but a couple of days has passed here, Donga Week, to see women as Lisa Kingo, to see women as Amina Mohammed, to see women as Greta, to see women of the world today. So no matter how we turn this around, it will change. Because it's not just about creating some cool tech, or create a lot of money, or drive a great investment. We need to bring SDG first for everything we do. When we invest in the right thing for purpose. When we code for purpose. When we build businesses, we build business for purpose. When we drive great marketing campaigns, you know this Ad Week this week in New York also, we create it for purpose. We put purpose first. We don't just put customer first, we always bring purpose first and the rest will come. And to all the men in the room, thank you for coming tonight. But one thing is for sure, women is just a little bit better to do that than you guys are. That will make the change. So that's the reason why I'm so thrilled to get some really 3 powerhouse ladies up here. So come up to the stage and I'll do a small introduction of each of you, and then I will let them talk about what they have been doing and are going to do. So first of all, we have Rebecca Minkoff, fashion designer, founder of Rebecca Minkoff. She's so much more than that, and she will talk about this. And she's also a good friend of me. I tend to have really powerful ladies around me. That's kind of what happens. Then I have Amina Jadesimi, CEO and Director of LADOL for Nigeria. She's a powerhouse too. I had the pleasure to be with you with all the great things you do for P4G. And then I have my partner in crime, Alicia Hertz. If I'm in the room, Alicia is there. If Alicia is in the room, I'm there. We go together. That's just how it is. Chief Marketing Officer, Deloitte Digital and Deloitte Consulting. Those 3 people are powerhouses. But first, the first question I really want you each to share is like, this trailblazer is just part of you, it's your DNA. So Rebecca, will you start talking about all the great work you do, who you are, how you drive women forward, and how you do this in a collective, united way?
Of course, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be here. I think I started doing a lot of speaking engagements about 4 years ago, and often getting the question that just rang just frankly weird. What is it like to be a female founder? And I just started thinking, why are we being talked to like we're polar bears? Clearly there's not enough of us, right? If it's so intriguing to be a female founder, there are not enough examples of women in leadership, of women-founded companies being elevated and highlighted. And I was so sick of this question, and I thought, you know what? This just needs to be normal. There's 50% of us on this planet, and we should have the same stakes, the same earnings, the same parity as our male counterparts. So I launched about a year ago something called the Female Founder Collective, which is a network of female-founded companies. We launched a seal. It's on over 2.5 million products so that women and men can support the women founders at a grassroots level. And we can still worry about women in C-suite positions, obviously having gender equality and gender parity, but the consumer can take control into her hands and going to the coffee shop a block away, or buying this kombucha or this luggage carrier. And so I just want the conversation, as Jamila said, to end, and we can all be looked to as equals. So started this year ago, and it's been an extraordinary journey.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Amy Jadasimi. So I run a company called Ladol, which is an industrial free zone, so like a small industrial village. And we built it from scratch. So building infrastructure and building a shipyard and working with big industrial companies. So what that means is I'm often the only woman in the room, and definitely the only woman in the leadership position in the room. And I'm surrounded by people who definitely suffer from an inability to relate to women in a position of power. And so they often default to this thing of, well, you're emotional if you're making a good point and all these other things we're used to. But I think, ironically, the fact that I'm a woman is one of the reasons I've been able to do this job. Because I work with a very wide range of people. We have, welders who aren't that well educated, right up to international bankers and a whole range of other people working and building this community. And I found that myself and the other women in the team are able to connect and are able to bring the teams together to achieve the extraordinary. And we've been able to achieve a lot of firsts because we're very goal-oriented and we're not glory-oriented. And not all men are glory-oriented, but I think women, particularly the women I've been privileged to work with, are really focused on just getting the job done. And I think what we're trying to achieve in terms of the SDGs is about creating new worlds. It's just like what we've done at Ladol. And I think women's, there's a lot of data that shows that women do think in a more sustainable way. But I think it's also because women think in a more holistic way. And so if you're going to be creating the kind of business models we need to achieve the SDGs, you definitely need to achieve gender parity. And that's why I was part of a report that was published last year called Women Leading for the Global Goals. And it basically concluded that in order to achieve the SDGs, we had to first achieve SDG 5, which is female equality. So without having parity in the workplace, we're not going to be able to achieve the other SDGs. So for me, I agree with what Rebecca said. It is completely unacceptable that we're still unicorns. And I think that there will be a natural progression for more women to lead. But we have to do more. We have to be more aggressive and push ourselves forward, especially in the knowledge that if we don't do that, we're not going to be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Woo!
I'm Alicia Hatch. There are so many reasons that this is so important, reasons that I'm here, and reasons that I'm passionate about this issue. But I think at this moment, chief amongst them is that what I've found in stepping into a leadership role as a woman is one of the most important things. I think we can be creating opportunities for women at this moment in terms of moving the world forward, moving business forward. I grew up in the video games industry, and I was the only man, or only woman in a sea of men, surprise, for miles. And I just mimicked them. I mimicked them in order to grow in my career. It took me forever to find my voice because I didn't think it was okay, and I thought to be powerful, you needed to be like men. To discover that you could be a woman and be powerful, and that a female model of leadership is not only just as powerful, but in a modern and connected world, in fact, it's incredibly well suited for power leadership. I am incredibly passionate about the people in this room, the women here, the women who are leading, the models of leadership that we can put forward as women. And I'm so excited to be here tonight with all of you for that reason.
Woo! So what is so fascinating about those three women here is, and maybe I'm telling a little bit too much about myself here, is that I'm Danish, and my mother is a very strong woman, and it was when I moved to the United States 5 years ago, I literally never looked at myself as a woman. I am a woman. You are a woman also too, as mentioned. But I just saw myself as a human being. But when I came to the United States and I have a global role in SAP, I began to see that women was not treated in the correct way all over the world. And so I really began to team up with UN Women, and we really began to rally this whole movement around the world. And SAP is very strong in doing all of this. But I've also been thinking a lot about this with the global goals, kind of like, but listen here 1 second. Don't we all agree on we are right now redefining the world? We are redefining the world. Passion, purpose is something that women are really good at. Uniting people, working teams, women are really good at doing it. Why don't we just use this as an opportunity so when we redefine the world, make sure we reach the global goals by 2030, we make sure the women are leading the way. And that's why when Lisa and I, we announced this beginning of this week, the SDG ambition, scale for impact, right? Scale for impact. It's such a man thing to say, right? No, scale for impact in a purpose-driven world, this is just a women thing to say, because we know how to do that. Because we don't just scale for impact to earn money and be big egos, or whatever we can call this. We do this to make sure we build a better world for humanity. And this is what women are really good in thinking about, right? So let us look at women in another way and think about why don't women take the opportunity now to redefine a new world and make sure that women get the seat that they so much deserve at the table. So I want to hear each of you, how are we going to reach the 2030? How are we going to reach the goal? What are you guys going to do about it? Because the thing is that you are badass women. You've already done a lot of great stuff, but we have a lot to do yet. So what are you going to do, Rebecca Minkoff? What are you going to do?
So we have a network of over 5,000 female-founded companies in the U.S. We have a long way to go. There's 12 million in the U.S. alone, not including, the entire world. But if you can imagine a world where, as a mother, I turn over my products. Is it organic? Is it non-GMO? Would it begin to enter the zeitgeist at a certain saturation point of, oh, I see the seal, I'm going to shop my coffee here. Oh, I see the seal, I'm going to buy this product. Oh, I can connect with this network of women and we can all help and support each other because we're already all connected via the collective and say, what were your roadblocks? What was your tech stack? Who was your HR platform? What powered your, operating system? And take those shortcuts with each other and helping each other along the way. And so we can begin to look at this as a study was done by Berlin Cameron that found that 82% of women are more likely to support female-founded companies if they only knew how. And so the seal is how. It's what you look for when you buy your food or put on your cosmetics. And then the collective is the power of the founders to support each other with all the roadblocks we encounter. So that's what I'm doing.
Woo!
I need a lot of help.
I look at it in two ways. The company I work for is building the first special economic zone that is also focused on industry and is sustainable. So what that means in layman's terms is that we're spending probably about $500 million creating an ecosystem which is going to be a circular economy, and a lot of industrial companies, agriculture, hospital business, oil and gas companies, all working together. And that will now, has also been taken up by P4G as a blueprint for the sustainable industrialization of Africa. So what I'm passionate about is making sure that as we industrialize, as we create the hundreds of millions of jobs we need to create in Africa, we use the SDGs as our business model. And the reason we're creating the circular economy is not because, we're goody-goodies. it's because it is now indisputable that sustainability equals profitability. So we see the SDGs as a winning business model. And I agree with one of the earlier speakers who said if you don't have sustainability as the core of your business, in another 5 to 10 years you will be obsolete. In terms of supporting women, though, the one thing I'd say about that is it has to be something that is active. And I'm not perfect at doing this, but I always try to be active in terms of supporting women I don't know. When you're in an open forum, just a smile, encouraging them, asking them a question. If sometimes you see a panel of, five guys and one woman, and nobody asks the woman a question. It seems like a small thing, but just these little ways of supporting each other. And then there are much bigger ways we can support each other as well. In our company, we are looking at ways of structuring employment so that women can work part-time. We've had a lot of success with women working remotely from home. And they're far more productive than the people who come to the office sometimes. So supporting women, I think the most important takeaway that I would want to leave people with is an active thing. You have to do something. You have to invest money. You have to invest time in achieving that SDG 5.
Woo!
I think for me, we've got a lot of targets at our firm on gender equality, and those are important. We have to keep pushing for them and push for them at every level. But then in addition to that, it's giving myself targets, my organization targets, beyond that, let's get to 50-50, let's put more women in leadership. It's how many women am I personally mentoring? How many women are we interviewing for each role that's posted? Where are we recruiting? How can we actually improve the process all the way in and all the way through? What kinds of leadership roles am I giving women? Am I giving them space to innovate? So I add my own little personal metrics for myself on top of the big targets we set. But I think it's all about targets. It's all about holding ourselves to real numbers.
Wow. Okay. So I think it's time. As Isa mentioned also, there's been a lot of talk about climate, and I think we all can agree that we are at war against climate. And it's time that we as women now take the opportunity and are part of really taking a leading role in redefining the world to a purpose-driven world. And I will say one thing, as all the three amazing women have been saying here, don't wait for anybody to come and pick you up and tell you what to do. You need to get up there and do some action. You are accountable. Each of you are accountable to get up there and do something about it. So I think that's what I want you guys to take away from this amazing event and amazing institute that Lisa is driving, is that you all need to understand you're accountable. You're accountable for the climate, you're accountable for the whole gender issue that we have, accountable for all the global goals. And I remember, Mohammed said Saturday, and it was Saturday, all the days, he really said that they will get you. They will get all of you. We get all of us if we don't fix it. So we get out to fix it now, right? That's the urgency. We fix it, right? And this is what women are really good at. We're really good at fixing stuff, right? So thank you so much. Thank you so much, you great women power trailblazers. So I'm very excited to introduce the next speaker to come up to stage, Amanda Ellis. I have her. And I'm just going to read a couple of words about you. As co-founder of the We Empower UN SDG Challenge, Amanda Ellis spearheads a global business competition for female entrepreneurs who are advancing the UN Sustainable Development Goals. She currently serves as a global director of strategy partnership for the Uri and Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability at the Arizona State University. But her previous roles and achievement range from serving as the New Zealand ambassador to the UN in Geneva, and she also writes cool books, best-selling books on women in businesses. Badass women, real trailblazer. Woo! The stage is yours.
Aloha, everybody. It's very exciting to be here. And as we have just heard, women fix things. We know that Mary Robinson said climate change is a man-made problem in search of feminist solutions. So I am thrilled tonight to be able to invite to the stage 5 incredible women from all around the world who are the winners of the We Empower UN SDG Challenge. Please, ladies, come up. We know that women are macro-critical. We heard today the minister from Egypt who had previously been at the IMF, and she said, women are macro-critical. You've all heard the $28 trillion McKinsey cites because we don't have gender equality. And the World Bank last year came out with a study that estimated over women's lifetimes, we are foregoing as much as $160 trillion. So we have some incredible female founders from around the world, and I would, before inviting them to tell you a little bit about themselves and the amazing difference that they are making in their countries, I wanted to give a shout out to Elise Nelson, the CEO of Vital Voices, co-conspirator in our We Empower Challenge, and also to tell you about some of our amazing supportive partners. This is a true SDG coalition, which is why I need a clipboard to tell you about everybody. AT&T, Bank of America, BMO, Deanne von Furstenberg, Grow Your Biz, Hawaii Tropical Botanical Garden, and BioReserve, Ladol, Mary Kay, Procter & Gamble, Salesforce, University of Oxford, the UN Foundation, and the World Bank, and of course, the UN Global Compact. So thank you to all our amazing partners. This is a true SDG coalition. And the purpose of We Empower is really to honor incredible business owners from around the world who are really shifting the dial on the Sustainable Development Goals. And the 5 women that you are going to hear from are totally going to rock your socks because they are not waiting for anybody to fix them. There are only 6 countries in the world where we have gender equal legislation. And as we heard from Lise, another 200 years before we reach gender equality. This is crazy, but these women are not waiting. They are succeeding against all odds, and this competition is designed to honor them, to invest in them over the next year so that they can inspire and ignite change in others who are going to follow suit. So, now we are going to hear, first of all, from Christelle Kwizera, who is from Rwanda, and Christelle is the founder of Water Access Rwanda.
Thank you. So, you may know this, but women in Africa lose 200 million hours every day working for water. And oftentimes, this water is not even safe to consume. So these mothers mainly will have to cut firewood and endure fumes in their kitchens as they try to boil this water and make it safe. So this is a reality in a part of the world and the part of the world I come from. So that's why I founded Water Access Rwanda, to address 2 big crises on the continent. One is youth unemployment, and the other is water scarcity, and mainly economic water scarcity, which is the lack of access to clean water. So we install a water microgrid that we call Inuma to reduce the walking distance for women so they can have access to water at home, water that is safe and purified, ready to drink, so they no longer need to boil it and they no longer need to walk for it. We already have 68 Inuma systems running, and we employ and create jobs for young people who sell this purified clean water, similar to what you buy in bottled water, for the very small price of 1 penny every 10 liters. So every day now, we have reached 47,000 people who get water this way. But that is the first few trees in a forest that must continue increasing because there is still 400 million Africans who don't have access to water. But the good news is we have come up with innovative ways to finance access to water. As you may know, SDG 6 is still one of the most underfunded SDGs. But what we're doing is we're actually helping businesses go carbon neutral by investing in water projects. So by offsetting carbon emissions in one part of the world through giving water, your business could be carbon neutral, effectively addressing 2 SDGs, access to water, and also climate action. And a third bonus one, creating decent work for young people in rural areas.
Fantastic. And now we move to Jordan with Lina Khalifa, who is the founder of She Fighter.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Lina Khalifa, you can say. I'm the founder of She Fighter, which is the first self-defense studio that started for women, started in the Middle East and expanded globally. How many of you do martial arts here? Oh, a few. Not Zumba. We don't accept Zumba. Anybody who does Zumba, leave the room right now. Only martial arts. I started Shifa. I enrolled in Taekwondo when I was 5 years old, and then I got my black belt and won 20 gold medals. I found out later on that women are not standing up for themselves, and women look at themselves differently. They always doubt themselves. They're always not enough. They're always not ready to start a business, not ready to take an action. It's always they think that they're not ready. So I wanted to start this movement, which is called She Fighter, which empowers women not just physically but psychologically through training. And I work from teenagers and kids all the way to seniors and grandma. We have grandma in the training. So what I want to focus on is so there's 2 sides of life. There is a dark side and there is a good side. And you have to know that you have to prepare your children for the dark side as well as the good side. We all we want a bright future for our children, but that's not life. What they're going to do if they face depression? We give them fast solutions, pills. Like we take them to the doctors. We don't know how to deal with problems. We're afraid of facing problems. And when our children or when our kids have this kind of mental health problems, or even like they face harassment or assault, we don't know how to deal with it because we did not prepare them for life. And we teach them all the time about good things. We protect them. But you have to know one thing. You're not going to be there for your kids all the time to protect them. They need to stand up and take care of themselves. So I've seen it in my training. Moms always try to protect their children. You cannot be there. You have to let them fall and stand up. You have to let them try to ride on the bicycle, fall many times, cry, and stand up and try again. We need to change the way we are teaching the next generation in order to solve solutions. And we don't have to wait for gender equality to happen. If you want something, no matter what your gender is, go get it. Just go get it. Go there. It's out there for you. Just go and get it.
Thank you, Lina. And tell us the 3 SDGs that you are promoting.
Gender inequality, definitely, and wellness and health. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. And now we move to Ukraine with Zoya Litvin, who is the founder of Novo-Pechenska School.
You did it right. Good evening, everyone. I'm from Ukraine. I'm the founder of Novo-Pechenska School, and I'm passionate about education. Let me tell you why. Through my personal story, I understood that quality education is the best possible investment families make in their children or government makes in its citizens. But education in my country was so far from quality, so outdated, that I had to create Novo-Pechenska School, innovative K-12 school of happiness for 500 children in Kiev. And now, 6 years after, we are recognized by Microsoft among the 100 most innovative schools in the world. Our teachers, they provide access to quality education by creating online courses for children and teachers all over Ukraine, reaching poor villages, Crimea, war zones where there is no access to education at all at the moment. We founded Teachers Training Center where we educate teachers for free. But most of all, I am proud that we partnered with Ministry of Education to start national reform of school system, using our experience from Novopecherska. And it means that we influenced lives not only for 500 students at our school, but for more than 4 million children all over Ukraine. And why are we doing this all? Because quality education is only one sustainable development goal out of 17. But if you think it's the most effective way to reach every goal, because it's the only tool that develops empowered children ready to build better society, economy, and environment. And this is the most sustainable tool to reduce poverty and inequality. In Ukraine, we say, children, they are only 15% of our population, but they are 100% of our future.
Thank you, Zoya. And now we move to Guatemala with Carla Ruiz Cofino, and founder of Digital Awareness Program.
Thank you, Amanda. So I am from Guatemala, and I created my business, Digital Awareness, to help people understand the importance of knowing how to use technology rather than it using them. I recruit and inspire digital users to become digital leaders who knows how to use technology to connect with the world and use their influence to improve it. I am helping quality education, health and well-being, responsible consumption, and women empowerment. But when there is a game changer that becomes a digital leadership, there is a multiplier effect, helping advancing all of the 17 SDGs. I am building a global network of game changers, connecting through technology, improving the world.
Woohoo! And finally, Leah Lizarondo from the Philippines and the US, the co-founder of 412 Food Rescue.
I'm Leah Lizarondo. 412 Food Rescue. I founded 412 Food Rescue after I learned a crazy fact that we waste 40% of our food supply, almost half. And on the other side of that, we all know that many go hungry, not only in places where I grew up, but right here. So we are feeding landfills better than we are feeding people. So much so that food waste is the second largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, affecting us all. The 412 Food Rescue is technology. In the same way that we use Uber Eats to order and deliver food, we match excess food from grocery stores and restaurants to charities that need it and mobilize a network of drivers to deliver the food. The best part is that everyone is a volunteer. How many? There are over 8,000 drivers that respond to push notifications on their phones in less than 6 minutes on average, with a 99% success rate. Some commercial food delivery services are much less than that. Wow. Since 2015, 412 Food Rescue has redirected 7 million meals from 600 grocery stores and restaurants to 700 NGOs in 5 cities.
Yay.
So 412 Food Rescue is technology, but tech for good. I believe we can create a network that will end waste, SDG 12, end hunger, SDG 2, and reverse climate change, SDG 13, in 5 cities today, 100 cities by 2030.
Woo! Fantastic. So you can see why these incredible entrepreneurs from all around the world are perfect to be here launching Target Gender Equality. Now I would like to invite one of the supportive men that we really need to take this forward, Hank Rogers, who is also known affectionately as Mr. Tetris. Hank is the founder of Blue Planet Foundation and chairman of the board, and also the founder of the Blue Planet Alliance, which is really helping to take the SDG movement global. Hank, come and I will give you my mic.
I actually have no idea why I'm up here. I mean, all these amazing women. Can I have a round of applause for these amazing women? So I too come from the computer game business. Has anybody out there ever played Tetris? All right. So my claim to fame is I went to the Soviet Union in 1989 to get the Game Boy rights to Tetris. And the author of Tetris, who's the real Mr. Tetris, is my partner still today. You can call me Dr. Tetris because I kept Tetris alive all these years. So I was in the computer game business for 30 years, and I worked for my father, hated it, and so my first chance to get away, I got away, and I told my kids, look, I don't want you guys to work for me. I have 2 girls and 2 boys, but I'm not forbidding it, because I hated it. And I said, if you join my company and I have a problem with you in the business, and I'm losing you, a family member is more important. So the bottom line is, if I can always hire somebody with your talent. I can hire another daughter or another son. Under those conditions, my daughter came and joined the company. She actually studied business, so she knew something about it, which I never did. I studied computer science. And she runs my business now. I'm done. I've been done for like almost 10 years. She is totally killing it. Yeah, when she was 15, I asked her, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said, I don't know, but I want to make more money than you. So I graduated from the computer game business. Now I'm fighting climate change. We got Hawaii to have the first mandate for 100% renewable energy of any state in Hawaii, in the country. We've helped 8 other states with their renewable energy mandate. When you have a mandate, then the businesses can follow and figure out how to actually get it done. And now my next foray is to do it with countries. And I don't know which, it must be SDG 13 that I'm working on right now. But actually, I'm looking for the next 15 years. And 2045, the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. What are we going to do by then? And frankly speaking, I don't think we're in a stage of humanity or of human progress where we can be sustainable, because we've just caused too much damage already. We've got to take it all back. So we have to create the regenerative development goals for the next 15 years. And we have to take it all back. We have to take it back out of the atmosphere, out of the ocean, and out of the ground. And we have to win this war against climate change and everything else so that the world can be a better place.
Thank you so much, Hank. And I have to say, Hank is really putting his money where his mouth is. A wonderful woman that I work for, Julie Wrigley, and Hank are together bringing in women for the Blue Planet Alliance and the Blue Planet Foundation to Hawaii next year so that countries can begin to learn from this 100% renewable target and actually begin to change the dial. So it's wonderful to see that support for women as game changers. Many of you will know that Drawdown says that women are the #1 solution to climate change, 120 gigatons by 2050. So target gender equality is so critical across the gamut of the SDGs. I would like, before asking our wonderful women founders to close, to give a shout out again to the incredible Lise Kingo from the Global Compact. Lise has done an amazing job as CEO. And to Lauren Gula, who since 2010, when I worked with her on the Women Empowerment Principles, has been leading gender equality at the Global Compact, and also to Bank of America, to MasterCard, to SAP for their great support tonight to help create the world we want by 2030. And I'm going to ask each of our founders to tell us why, to finish and close tonight, why is target gender equality important for you? So starting with you, Lena, and going down the line.
Why is gender equality?
Why is target gender equality important for you?
To definitely build self-confidence with women and to create women leaders. And women need to discover this power within so they can excel in life. That's why it's important to have gender equality.
Fantastic. Thank you. Christelle.
Because of innovation, there is still too many barriers that are keeping smart women, genius women, out from a place where they could be innovating and giving us the solution that we need as the world right now.
In Ukraine, 96% of school teachers are female. And I believe if we make those female feel strong and empowered, they will pass it on to the next generation, and that's the only way how we will have empowered nation and empowered society.
Hala.
There is no country that has achieved real change in gender equality. But when you have a woman that builds influence in the virtual world, any place on the planet, the power of her voice gets translated in the real world. So with more women being digital leaders, we can really change the world.
Fantastic.
It's fairly simple. Only 2% of technology venture capital go to female-founded companies. And if we're going to want innovation to solve the world's biggest problems, we have to do much, much, much better than that.
Fantastic. So now to close, I would love to invite all the partners to come up. We're going to present certificates and have a photograph and to say, as Lise said so well, this is the tipping point. We need to act now for people and planet with target gender equality. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to, may I have all the partners? BPW, Hawaii Green Growth, Vital Voices,